I'm glad you're here, because I know that the talks of hair porosity and hair types and density and all these things can sound like gibberish. I get you, I know. So I want to keep this nice and simple, and I'm going to answer these 2 questions. 1, what is the difference between hair type and hair porosity? And 2, the benefits or the use of knowing what your hair type and porosity is. The quick answer is, if you know your hair type and porosity, then you know how to care for your hair. You'll be able to figure out what products to use, what styling methods to use. All of it will go so much smoother if you know your hair type and porosity. But there's a lot that goes into those things, so I do want to break it down. Hey baby loves, welcome back to the fiesta. If you're new here, my name is Keishana Dupuy, and if you're not, you're loyal. Real quick, don't forget to like and subscribe and click the notification bell below if you're interested in seeing weekly hair or skin and product reviews, tips, tricks, and advice. Hair type. There are 4 hair types. Each of those 4 hair types, from 1 to 4, are broken into subcategories. Those subcategories are broken into the letters A to C. So literally there are 3 subcategories. You will hear people say type 1, B, type 4, C. That is what they're referring to. I'm not gonna really go into the subcategories. Because that'd be a whole other video. But I did want to clarify that the subcategories determines the looseness, A, to tightness, C, of your curls and coils. Some people say it's pretty easy to figure out your hair type. I don't fully agree, but what I do recommend is, as I break down the types, if you want to figure out your hair type, you need to wash your hair and get it in its cleanest, natural state, and look at your curl type to see each type has a certain look and description that goes to it, and that is how it's determined. There's each type has a certain look and description that correlates to it, and you literally have to look at your hair follicles, look at the shape that your hair naturally makes, and that is how you'll be able to determine your hair type. Keep in mind that the way you style your hair, the products you use in your hair, does affect the way your hair looks. So try your best to look at it in its natural state. Type 1, straight hair. Type 1 has no type of natural curl, and it can really be thick or thin, but you literally will not see any wave from the root to the tip. It's going to be straight. Simple. Type 2, wavy hair. It's not quite straight, but it's also not completely curly. Typically at the roots it lays flat, and then when it reaches to about the ear height is when it'll start to wave and curl. So that's wavy hair. Type 3, curly hair. Curly hair can have a light to tight curl. An interesting fact about type 3 hair is that it is the hair type that is most likely to have a combination of different textures. Type 3 hair is usually more springy, you can really see the defined curls, and it'll have more height and volume in the roots. So when you combine it all together, you'll have a bigger, more rounded shape to the hair. 4, that is coiled hair. It is the tightest curl / coil. It could be thin, it could be coarse, but it could be thin, it could be coarse, but overall you will see a more packed in look to the curls. It could be thin, it could be thick, but you'll usually see a more packed in look to the coils, very tight coils. Usually with type 4 hair, you can actually look at the hair and see the coil. You can see the curls in the hair. Usually with type 4 hair, you are able to clearly see the coil. Even though it looks packed in, when you look at the hair, you'll see the little tight coils. A fun fact about type 4 hair that I feel like a lot of people do not know is that type 4 hair is actually the most fragile hair type. A fun fact about type 4 hair that I think a lot of people actually don't know is that type 4 hair is actually the most fragile, it's actually the most fragile hair type, it's actually the most fragile hair texture, because it has the fewest hair, because it has the fewest cuticle layers, to protect it from dryness. A cuticle layer is the outermost part of your hair, and I'll get into that in a second. But it really does, but that fun fact really does affect moisture, tangles, and that's a big struggle for type 4 hair. And overall, the basic benefit to knowing your hair type is that it will help you determine how to style your hair. So when you're getting cuts or literally just styling your hair, you'll know what looks will look best for your hair type, but also it'll help you figure out what type of products your hair will most likely like based off the type of hair. Different type. Hair porosity. There are 3 types of hair porosity: low, medium, or some people call it normal, and high. Porosity literally tells you your hair's ability to soak up and retain moisture. It literally concerns holes or pockets in your hair cuticles. Your hair cuticle is the outer layer of your hair. So think of it this way: the more holes or pockets that your hair cuticle has is the more access moisture from products and oils will be able to get into the inner layer of your hair, which will affect your hair's moisture and the way it looks. So let's break down the types of porosity. We're gonna start with low porosity. For low porosity, the cuticles are close together, so moisture has a hard time getting in there. Hair products basically tend to sit on top of the hair and can't absorb easily because the cuticles are too tight. Medium or normal porosity. The cuticles aren't as tight, but they also aren't as open. They're in between. So that means that the moisture is able to get in easily and your hair is able to retain the moisture for longer. High porosity. High porosity cuticles are actually more widely spread. And what that means is moisture can absorb into the hair very easily, which is a great thing, right? But not really, because that also means that it's not able to retain the moisture that long because the cuticles just have too much gaps and spaces between them. Something to keep in mind about hair porosity is that chemicals and heat can really affect your hair porosity, but you can actually change it. Scientists think that it is genetics, so while you can't change it, you can definitely master it. Especially the closer you get to type 4 hair and the tighter your coil and texture, and the benefit of knowing porosity is that you get to know a lot about your hair. For example, if you jump into the pool or when you're washing your hair and it feels like your hair is not moving, it's not getting wet, it's not dropping down, that has to do with your porosity. If you feel like you're applying gel and your hair is looking crazy, but then you apply a cream and your hair looks great, that has to do with your porosity. There are a lot of common characteristics that will help you determine the best ways to deal with your hair. Overall, I feel like it's very important to know your hair type and your porosity. One, for conversations, because that's usually big conversations in our community, but also because it's important to know how to manage your hair. Who doesn't want to prevent frizz and tangles and get your hair to stay moisturized and look better for longer? We all want that, especially if you're on the type 3 or type 4 hair types like me. I have type 3C to 4A hair. The last I really looked at my hair. I'm gonna go into porosity more in depth in another video, but try your best to start learning it because it'll cut out a lot of the annoying bad hair days and frustrating times with your hair if you just know these things off the bat and proceed to great hair days. I'm telling you, the minute I started learning about it, my hair started looking better and better, and I love it. Cause look at that moisture. Please let me know if you have any questions about anything I said, if you want me to dive into anything specific, if you want me to dive in more to anything specific that I said. Just let me know. Also, let me know if you have a product suggestion or video request, and if your idea is selected, you will get a shout out. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back soon. Ciao.